Hello, and welcome back to the podcast growth series. Can you believe we are on episode number 8? Oh my gosh, it's been such a journey, and I am so excited to be on this journey with you. Real quick, so far we have learned how to attract our ideal listener, how to get more podcast downloads using my favorite, the one and only Podcast SEO. And then I taught you how to make your podcast episodes more engaging. And then after that, I taught you how to increase that engagement by creating a community around your podcast. After that, I taught you how to grow your podcast by being a guest on other people's podcasts. And then after we set up that foundation of visibility, the really solid foundation for our podcast, we talked about how to make money podcasting. Last month, we talked about how to monetize your podcast with different collaborations. So far in this journey, we have done quite a bit. And today, I want us to recalibrate because it is very easy in this online space for us to get sidetracked and for us to just, lose focus a little bit because the online space is loud. It's very easy to get burned out. So today, I want to talk to you about the top 3 mistakes that podcasters make and how you can foolproof yourself so that you don't fall down and you don't make those mistakes so that ultimately you can have a successful podcast that grows your visibility, that grows your impact, and ultimately grows your income. So mistake number 1 that podcasters make is that they are not building their podcasts on a solid foundation. Now, the solid foundation really truly is making your podcast searchable so that your ideal listener, when they're going on Google, they can type something and your podcast can come up. And yes, you heard that right. Your podcast can come up on Google if you know how to optimize your podcast. This is the bread and butter of what I do. Podcast SEO is where it's at. And please, if you don't know what SEO means, I have a ton of episodes that I talk about that. But if the word SEO, if the acronym SEO scares you, don't let it scare you because truly it is very simple. It can get very complicated. SEO can get very complicated. Don't get me wrong. But when it comes to podcasting, it is super easy. And the way that I teach you is very tangible, very easy to understand. And podcasters get like 4x increase on their downloads once they follow my methodology. My methodology works. So I will leave a resource linked for you down below. If you're like, you know what, I need all the podcast SEO help I can get, I will leave that linked for you in the show notes so you can go ahead and grab that and apply. This is a course that you can watch over the weekend and start applying and seeing results right away. Highly recommended. So number 1 mistake is not setting your podcast up on a solid foundation. Mistake number 2 is thinking that you're going to make money podcasting just because you're podcasting. Now, here's the thing. Podcasting for the sake of podcasting is not going to make you any money. People have this idea that they're going to start a podcast, they're going to grab their mic, and they're going to start speaking into the microphone or having really amazing conversations with people, and that some way, somehow, that's going to translate into money. And I'm here to tell you that is not true. It's not going to happen. You have to be very intentional about how you're podcasting. So if you are a service provider or you sell a product, you need to podcast strategically in order for you to see the results, in order for you to see that your podcast is actually making money. Now, if you want to go the route of ads and sponsorships, just know that you still need the solid foundation to build your podcast upon because you're needing 1,000 downloads for you to make any money. And when I talk about any money, we're talking about $20 to $30 per 1,000 downloads. It's really not a lot, which is why I really focus on selling a product or a service directly from your podcast, which you can start monetizing your podcast from day 1. If you don't know my client, Masha, she made an $8,888 sale from her podcast from somebody who found her and binged it. And she was like, okay, I want to work with you. And she had been podcasting for less than 6 months when that happened. I will leave her episode linked down below so you can go ahead and listen to that episode because it is super inspiring what you can do when you play your cards right and when you are podcasting strategically. Now, mistake number 3 the podcasters make that ultimately lead them to burnout and just peace out and stop podcasting is that when they become a podcaster, they become inspirational and they want to have really amazing conversations with other people and they want to have a lot of guests on their podcast. And the problem with that is that you're highlighting somebody else's expertise. You're not highlighting yours. So if you sell your product or service and you want to sell your products and your services, people really need to get to know you and understand who you are. So imagine for a second, right, that you are a brand that you love. So for example, I'm thinking about Pact, organic clothing. Imagine if Pact had a podcast. If on that podcast, they were interviewing H&M and they were interviewing some other brand. I can't think of other brands, right? But they were interviewing other brands and they were giving other brands the mic. Then they're highlighting other brands and other brands are like, yeah, I'm here for that. Like, give me all the visibility I can get. So if Pact wanted to sell their organic clothing, then they needed to make a podcast that speaks to their ideal listener and they needed to highlight them as an authority in this space. So your podcast is no different. Again, another example to bring this full circle. If you have Instagram or if you have TikTok or, some sort of social media account, on your feed, you are sharing about your expertise and how you help. You don't have a feed full of other people's work and books and coaching offers. It's about you. And the same thing when it comes to podcasting, you need to be able to highlight yourself. So don't become inspirational on your podcast and do not have a ton of interviews on your show if the goal is for you to sell your products and your services. Now, we look around and you see these huge podcasters and they are interviewing, right? Like Joe Rogan comes to mind, Tim Ferriss comes to mind, Smartless, all of these big podcasts, that's what they do. They have interviews on their show. And you might think, okay, if they do it, then I should do it too, because that's what successful podcasters do. They do interviews. Yes, but they have a huge, huge audience and they're getting sponsors on their show and they're making good money because they have a huge audience. So before you go to that route of becoming inspirational and having guests and doing the more creative thing on your podcast, you need to build the solid foundation. Once you have the solid foundation, then you can do whatever your heart wants to do with your podcast, but we have to play by the rules. Now, the reason why I'm sharing this with you in this episode is because I don't want you to get sidetracked and start looking left and right and start thinking, okay, what do I do next? What is it that I should do? Or you get distracted by the new shiny thing. You really need to stay committed here to the course and follow what I have been sharing thus far so that you can have the successful podcast that grows your impact, your visibility, that gets more downloads, that grows your income. Those are the things you need to do. You really do need to stay focused so that you achieve those goals. Okay, so remember, on the series, I'm walking you from A to Z on how to grow your podcast, how to scale your podcast, how to monetize your podcast. But there are steps that we need to take. There are things we need to do in order to achieve those goals. And next month, I'm going to teach you how to understand what are the episodes that you need to do more of so that it resonates with your audience so that you can have more success and faster success by leveraging the data right in front of you. So make sure that if you're not subscribed to this episode today, you do subscribe right now so you don't miss an episode, and that you also grab the homework prompts, which I always leave linked for you down below. So if you're new to the series, every single month you have a podcast episode and you also have a homework prompt that is aligned with that episode. And every single episode in this series is designed to get you a result. If you follow my methodology, if you're doing other things, I can't guarantee that anything is going to happen. But if you follow my methodology, you're going to see results. So until next month, go do your homework, go grow the podcast, and I'll see you then. Bye.